What's up, everybody? It's your boy Desmond Patterson coming to you today, as always, on Eagles game day. This is the pregame flight plan, and let's get into it. So, today we playing New York, Upper New York, the New York Giants, the New York Football Giants, as they term them. For a team coming into the season who didn't have that many aspirations, it's kind of hard to say that this is a must-win game. Must-win games are for teams that came in projected to do something specific, which the Eagles weren't. Now they find themselves in a position to be able to, quote-unquote, make some noise this season. You know, they're playing well enough. Listen, people are projecting that it's Dallas New England Super Bowl. So if that's their projection, and we played Dallas to a standstill and actually should have won that game, why not? Why shouldn't this team make some noise this year? With that being said, like I said, this is kind of early to term a game a must-win. The Eagles are 4-3, so if they lose this game, they'll be 4-4, which is 500. The bad thing about that is they'll be 0-3 in the division, and in order to make the playoffs, you either have to win the division or be a wild card team and have one of the top records in the conference. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. This game is going to hinge on one thing, and it's kind of hard for a football game to be determined by one thing, but I guarantee you it's going to be determined by one thing. Eli Manning is the key to this game. We have to treat him like a piñata. He is notorious for not wanting to get hit. He will throw the ball away. He will take an intentional grounding. He will just throw the ball and don't hit me. I ain't got it. That's Eli Manning. So we have to get after this guy. Meaning our front four. Again, this week we're going to be without Benny Logan. So Bo Allen and Destiny Vayo are going to have to fill in for Benny Logan. And we got to make life hell for Eli, the front four. If we have to employ the same, employ the same tactic that we did against Sam Bradford with the constant pressure, then so be it. Let's get after it. Because as much as I love this team, our cornerbacks have no prayer of covering these guys. I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that if we have to man up, which we've been doing with a single high safety, if we have to man up, we have no prayer of covering these guys. Period, point blank. We got a rookie starting. We got a veteran who can't stay healthy because of a hamstring. And we got another corner who's coming off of a broken ankle. And it seems to me that he's lost a little bit of speed. Very slightly, but he has. And, you know, in this game, a half a step is crucial. From the looks of it, it seems like we're always chasing. These guys are always in trail technique, which is, it makes no sense to me when you're playing a single high safety, which means you're letting everybody get deeper than the corners and you got one guy deep trying to decide who to cover. They're stressing that kid, Rodney McLeod. They're stressing him. It's a good system if you have the players to run it. They're not being physical enough on the line of scrimmage, if you ask me. Cornerbacks who can't turn and run with the best of them are usually physical at the line of scrimmage. You can't be soft and give people a free release and think the blitz is going to be there. They blitzed Dak Prescott a few times last week, and a half a beat before the blitz got to him, he's releasing the ball to a guy who's 2 yards beyond the cornerback. I mean, if you're going to blitz, you have to jam the receiver and throw the timing off. Like, I don't understand the philosophy. I don't know whether or not we're teaching these guys to always be in trail. It's cool to be in trail if you got two deep safeties playing over the top because you're playing underneath and you have safeties playing over the top. So you're covering anything short and the safeties get anything deep. It's just common sense. But the way that these guys are playing, I don't see how if we don't get pressure on Eli Manning, it's going to be a long day for us. And it's just as simple as that. You saw my paper, just Eli. That was my only note. The rest of this is just what I know. The Eagles' offense is going to be without one Josh Huff, who was released this week. I don't need to reiterate all the things that went on this week with him and his subsequent release. We have a kid who just brings a smile to my face. We're finally going to get to see it, and I guarantee you guys, you're going to see why I was screaming about this guy for the last 8 weeks. He's a strong, very strong receiver. People are like, well, why didn't he get drafted if he's so good? He had a sprained MCL. He was hurt. And coming into the season, you don't want to carry a guy on your roster who's hurt. He's taking up a roster spot. But he's good enough to have done that for. There was a guy in the preseason named Paul Turner who everybody was really high on. This kid dropped everything. He had hands like glue, and the team cut him in order to pick up Treggs. So if you cut a guy who's healthy and contributed all preseason for a guy who's coming in and he's hurt, that ought to tell you what they think about the kid who's hurt. You get what I'm saying? And he's real confident too. They asked him this week about working with Carson Wentz, and he said Carson Wentz throws a great deep ball. And everybody's like, well, we haven't seen him throw deep ball. Will we see it? And he said, what time's the game on Sunday? 1? That means he knows he's going to get some burn. Now, he's not going to get all the snaps that Josh Huff had. It's going to be spread out. They still have a roster spot open, which was kind of weird to me that they didn't fill the roster spot this week. I was 100% certain that they would bring Paul Turner up, but they haven't at this point. So that leads me to believe that that's not the move that they want to make. I don't know why. I don't know what the thinking is with not bringing Paul Turner up. Who knows? It's hard to know what's going on upstairs, with Howie and brain trust of the Eagles. So we're just going to wait and see. Offensively, I was a little disappointed last week, of course, with the loss to Dallas, but I was even more so disappointed with what they said afterwards with the struggles of the offense. Anybody who knows anything about football knows the way to attack a cover 2 offense. You attack the middle of it because you have 2 safeties sitting back and there's a big void in the middle of the field. And you usually use a tight end to attack that space. Which brings me to Zach Ertz, who's not having the type of year that everyone expected. Last year he had 75 receptions. More than 60% of that was in the last half of last year, which led people to believe that coming into this year he was going to have a breakout year. They're designing plays for him and they're calling plays for him, but Carson Wentz has choosing to go other places with the ball, not knowing, why. I watch film of the game, and it's easy for me to pick up why, but for the fans sitting at home watching the game live, it's kind of hard. The one thing about the NFL is once you put things on film, on tape, and people can go back and study it, you become easier to defend. With that being said, the first 3 weeks of the season when Carson Wentz was on fire, not that he's still not on fire because he is, this kid's completing over 70% of his passes, which is freaking ridiculous, even with all the drops. So that just leads you to know that it's not Carson. You can forget that, cross that off your list. It's not Carson Wentz. When you see that the team is throwing every pass, meaning the beginning of the season, 15 to 20 yards deep. Nothing going deep, nothing trying to go over the head. It's kind of easy to defend. You defend those zones 15 to 20 yards deep and you take away what they like to do. Now, that being said, when they came out and said that they were playing soft coverage in a cover two, then what do? As a football head, you know you run the ball because you got to get them out of that. If they want to keep dropping back in soft zone coverage, you have to run the ball and bring them up. Now, with these wide receivers, again, the team is hamstrung because there's absolutely no deep threat until today. I would come out into this New York game, and just to screw with their heads and screw with the defensive coordinators' heads, I would run 4 all-go patterns. Meaning everybody that's going out on a pattern, just run straight up the field. Because that'll give them something to think about the rest of the game. Bryce Treggs is going to bring a little certain... Listen, this kid is just not a speedster. He's just not a go deep down the field. This kid is a wide receiver. He played at Cal. His quarterback was Jared Goff, the only person in this previous draft to go ahead of Carson Wentz in the draft. So he's used to good quarterbacking. And this kid he's a talented wide receiver. He averages over 20 yards a catch. And this is desperately needed for this team. He started practicing with the ones a couple of weeks ago, and every week progressively he got more and more snaps with the ones. So they're trying to get him acclimated to this offense, because the one thing you don't want him to do is be on the field and they call an audible to something that he has no clue of. So that was one of the holdups with him being on the field earlier, along with the knee injury, the sprained MCL. Speaking of wide receivers, I want to stay on that note. Josh Huff's loss. I don't want to discredit what he was for this team. He was a spectacular kick returner. But before Josh Huff started returning kicks, Kenyon Warner was returning kicks. Wendell Smallwood is going to return kicks. Nelson Aguilar can return kicks. Listen, I know he's a first-round pick. I know he's kind of struggling, but at USC, that's what he did. People want to say, you don't want a chance of getting hurt as a returner. Well, I would venture to say that Darren Sproles is more important to anybody. More important than anybody on this team to the offense and to this team. And he returns punts. Tim Brown, who's one of the top 5 wide receivers in the history of the NFL. You look it up if you don't believe me. In the history of the NFL, returned punts until his 8th or 9th year in the league. So there is nobody that's not important enough to do a job on the football field. That's what they get paid for. So let him do it. Put him back there as a punt returner. He was a dynamic punt returner at USC. He's not really doing that much on offense. I hope that changes, but I think we really got what we got. We're going to have to deal with drops for the rest of the season. But Treggs, number 16, he's got strong hands. This kid plays with contact well. And the fact that he is a burner is going to back people up, and it's going to open up things for this team. I guarantee you, it's going to be a trickle effect. Again, we're going to probably need the special teams to give us a boost this game. Defensively, the New York Giants really they're improved from last year, but they're not a great defense. But there is one troubling aspect of the defense, and that's a guy by the name of Damon Harrison. He's 6'4", 350 pounds, and he's going to line up right over Jason Kelsey. And I don't need to beat that horse anymore. This guy struggles when it's somebody that big playing over top of him. And I would venture to say that he's still injured. He's probably still a little bit tender, so on that ankle. So that's going to be interesting to see how that works out. You got Alan Barbary, the left guard. He's injured. He's out today. You got Steve Wisniewski playing in his spot, which means that, they're going to probably activate Isaac Sallier-Moore. So we're going to see some more people in uniform today than we have been. This game is really basically going to come down to what I said. I think our offense is going to do what it does. Carson's going to be able to move the ball. New York has a better than average secondary. DRC, Dominic Rogers-Cromartie, who played for us for a season. You got Janoris Jenkins, who they signed from the Rams. The New York spent a lot of money trying to improve this defense. You got Olivier Vernon, number 54, who is probably going to give Jason Peters some problems over there, but he's not having a great season. He's got 1 sack on the season, and they gave him $40 million guaranteed. We're halfway through the season, and he has 1 sack. But we got to be careful with this secondary because Landon Collins, the safety that they drafted last year, he's having a really good season. He's starting to see things a whole lot better. He's jumping routes, and he's making quarterbacks pay. He comes up to the line of scrimmage. He disguises things very well. He's starting to learn the league. So this is the second time around playing him, and he kind of knows, what we like to do. The film is out there. They've been studying. Again, this is the 3rd game in a row we're playing a team coming off a bye, so they had an extra week to study us. So we need to do something new. We need to do something new. We need to do new things. We need to vary some formations. And we need to run the ball more. I mean, this kid is throwing the ball 35, 40 times every week, it seems like. We need to run the ball more often and early, man. But, all of that being said, this game is going to come down again defensively to the front 4, I believe. We got to get pressure on Eli. We got to make things rough for him because Odell Beckham Jr. and Sterling Shepard and Victor Cruz, those guys will make you pay if you make a mistake. They all can make you pay. I don't want to see Victor dancing. I don't want to see ODB proposing to the field goal net, and I don't want to see the rookie making us regret not taking him. So let's hope that our front 4 come to play today. Brandon Graham, Connor Barwin, Vinny Curry, Fletcher Cox. Come on, man! You just got over $100 million, bro. You can't get beat 1-on-1. I mean, you can't let a 1-on-1 matchup beat you. You gotta beat that matchup. You have to. This offensive line of the New York Giants is struggling. They're not doing anything great. We gotta get pressure on Eli. Period. Point blank. So I always say I don't like to make predictions. That way I don't need to make excuses. I'm going to leave it at that. But y'all know where my heart lies. And hey, I think that this is the week that we start to see some excitement and start to get that feeling back again. Simply because number 16, everybody's like, well, the kid, there are a lot of people that sat on benches and nobody knew about them until they played, and then they became a star in this league. The one that comes to mind right off the bat is Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb was a slot receiver sitting on the bench, getting a couple snaps a game. Not nothing. And then he got his opportunity, and boom, now he's Randall Cobb. Same thing with Jeremy Curley with the Jets. Same thing with all these slot receivers. I don't think Bryce Treggs is a slot receiver. I believe he can play the slot, but he belongs on the outside, creating havoc. He's not going to burn by any of these corners. Let me say that. Because DRC is as fast as anybody in the league, and so is Janoris Jenkins. But if he double moves them or they bite on something, he's out. He's gone. So let's get ready to watch this game. Cheer our team on, and just look for the certain things that I say, man. Like I say, if you like what I'm saying, you like what I'm doing, hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment, instant message me, DM me, whatever. Anything you want me to talk about, anything you want me to hear, anything you want me to investigate, let a brother know. I will do my best to do that. Thank you for joining me on the pregame flight plan. Join me after the postgame, for the postgame, the 2020. My name is Desmond Patterson. Peace.